by far the most important document during the creation of a company is known as the Articles of Association. Okay, Article 12 of the Uniform Act on Commercial Company and Economic Interest Groups states that the Article of Association can be either a contract between members of a company where there are several members, or a unilateral deed of intent in the case of a sole proprietor. So the Article of Association shall be established by a notarial deed or by any other instrument that ensures legal validity in the state in which the company's registered office is actually found. Okay, so if you are opening a company that is under Article 4, as described by Article 4, that is by so many shareholders, then you have to actually have a contract between the members. But if you are opening the company with respect to Article 5, that is owned by a unique shareholder, then you have to actually have what we call a deed of intent, a unilateral deed of intent. Okay, and an article of association, like in Cameroon, must be established by a notarial deed. If it's not done by a notarial deed, it is not valid. Okay, in other countries, there may be some other OHADA members which do not have the notary system, but in Cameroon, it must be by a notarial deed. Okay, and each partner or shareholder is entitled to one original copy of the Articles of Association. So the Articles of Associations, the number of Articles of Associations are done in function of the members of the companies. Okay. Next on, let's look at the content of the Articles of Association. So Article 13 of the Uniform Act actually states that the Article of Association contains the following information. The first, the form of the company. Next, the name of the company, followed by its acronym. The companies usually have the name, they have an acronym. Usually that acronym can be an abbreviation or any other way that you like other people to always call your company. Okay, so and a company like Brasserie du Cameroon, usually you have the abbreviation SABC. Okay, that is Société Anonyme Brasserie du Cameroun, SABC. Okay, you have something like the Banque Internationale Camerounaise de Épargne et de Crédit, which we usually call BICEC. Okay, so BICEC is the acronym. The name of the organization is the full name, which is Banque Internationale Camerounaise de Épargne et de Crédit. Okay. Next, the nature of the field of the company's activity, which constitutes its object. So when you are forming a company, this particular item is very important. You must state clearly the activity of the business. Okay. If a company does not actually even state what it's about to do, how do you actually now know what that company has to do and what the company does not have to do? So the object of the company is one of the most important things that you must clearly state. Okay, and given that there is this what we call the ultra vires rule, which at times is disadvantageous not only for the shareholders but also for third parties. The Uniform Act actually advises that companies should actually expand on the object of the company as much as possible. Expanding means that you can state that the main activity of the company is this, okay, and this actually includes this item, okay, or the main activities of a company at times necessitate other activities, okay, and that is why at times the main object of the company is not the only thing that the company has to actually carry out. Okay, you find it carrying out some other sub-activities, okay, which are all linked to achieving the main objective of the company, which is the object. Okay, the next thing is the registered head office. The registered head office. So if you are opening a company in Cameroon, the registered head office must be in an OHADA region. Okay, so if it's in Cameroon, the registered head office, if you are registering a company in Cameroon, the registered head office must be somewhere among the 10 provinces of Cameroon. Okay. Yeah. The duration of the company. So a company normally can lasts, according to the OHADA law, between 1 and 99 years. So the maximum lifespan of the company is 99 years generally. But then you can have a company that whose object is going to expire in 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, and so on. You know, there are organizations that may decide to form a company to realize a particular project. For example, a constructing firm. They may want to carry out a major construction contract, okay? And companies come together and register themselves. 2, 3, or more shareholders come together, they register themselves, and after they must have realized that particular project, they can decide that that will be the end of the duration of the company. Again, it must also have the identity of the contributors in cash. For each of them, the amount of their contribution and the number and value of shares that is handed to them. Again, it must also have the identity of the contributors in kind, the nature and value of the contributions that they made, and the number and value of shares that is attributed to them. Okay? Again, you also have the identity of persons enjoying special benefits and the nature of such benefits. For example, you are creating a company, there is a particular person that a shareholder who has to be the general manager, and this general manager is going to have some benefits that the other shareholders do not have. So all of that has to be indicated in the article of association. The amount of registered capital also, that is the authorized capital of the company, has to be clearly stated. The number and value of shares issued, stating where necessary the classes of shares. And again, the provision related to distribution of profit and constitution of reserves and the distributable bonus after liquidation. So, I mean, you know how this particular area is very important. When they are sharing profit, you must share the profit in strict respect of what the article of association has said about the distribution of profit. Again, you should also have rules governing the functioning of the company. So you should have rules related to how do we elect, how do we choose this particular persons for particular posts, how do we take our decisions, and so on and so forth, who is in charge of what, and so on and so forth. So that's that. So the article of association may be amended under conditions stipulated by this Uniform Act, okay, for each form of company. However, the partner's commitment may under no circumstances be increased without his consent. So Article 72 of the Uniform Act states this very clearly, that partners or shareholders can actually come together, usually in what they call an extraordinary general assembly meeting, and in that meeting they can decide to modify, to modify the articles of association. Okay, but again, it states it clearly that you cannot increase the obligation of a shareholder without his consent. This particular area is very, very important, especially when we are going to be looking at a topic like increase of capital particularly. So you see that a company cannot, in the absence of a particular partner or shareholder, decide to increase capital and oblige him to come and pay in more. Okay? Usually a capital increase decision is taken by an extraordinary general assembly meeting also. Okay? And you discover that the quota for such meetings are usually higher than ordinary assembly meetings. Okay? But this Uniform Act tries to just indicate here that you should be careful when you want to increase the obligation of a shareholder. Okay? Yeah. So the next thing we are going to look at is the formalities. The formalities on the cost of formalities and the cost of setting up a company in Cameroon. Okay? So to set up a company in Cameroon, basically there are some formalities, there are some rules that you have to actually follow. Okay? And of course, when you are actually following those steps, then you have to also incur some costs in the process. So in recent years, the government of Cameroon has been making huge strides towards reducing the procedural obstacles, cost and time in the registration of companies. Okay, so what are the various formalities or different steps that people have to follow or usually follow in the formation of companies? The first step is that the prospective shareholder, partner, or businessman, that's what we mean, must first of all ascertain their criminal record. So this is done through what they call a certificate of non-conviction. So each of the partners must actually produce a certificate of non-conviction, okay, as part of the document that they are compiling for registration. Okay, after being cleared of any type of after being cleared on the type of company to be created, one should alongside their legal counsel, so that is the notary or any lawyer, or with a legitimate bank, provide the requisite minimum legal authorized capital permitting the incorporation of such a company. So what we're trying to say right here, or at this stage, what happens is that after you have decided on what type of company, we're going to see the different type of companies a bit below, okay, and to form those different type of companies, there are some specific rules in relation to their minimum capital, minimum nominal value, and so on and so forth. So once you have decided on the type of company that you want to create, okay, along with your legal counsel, that is your notary, okay, you must go to a regular bank, open a bank account, and in that bank account, you have to deposit the minimum capital requirement to open that particular kind of company. For example, in a private limited company, you have a minimum capital of at least 1 million. A private limited company, what we call SARL or LTDs. Okay. In a public limited company, you are expected to have a minimum authorized capital of 10 million francs CFA, and so on and so forth. So you are expected to go to the bank and block that particular minimum capital there. Okay, so you create an account and you block that amount there. You have to keep that amount there until the time when your certificate of incorporation actually comes out. Then before you take it to the bank and you'll be authorized to start moving that money. But as long as the registration procedure has not gone through, that authorized capital must be deposited in the bank. Okay, so the bank actually gives you a document showing that you have actually deposited the capital at the bank. Okay, after you've done that, then you now have to establish, okay, the article of association with your legal counsel, okay, and public notary. So in most cases, companies will have the legal counsel who is a lawyer, and they have the public notary. In parts of our country, in Cameroon, like in the English areas, at times you have the lawyer acting the same as the public notary. Okay, but in the other part, you have the legal counsel different from the public notaries. The public notaries are actually in charge of company issues, company management issues, creation of companies, and so on. Then the legal counsel are there as lawyers. Okay, so then you have to submit the application after you must have established this article of association with your legal counsel as well as the public notary. You have to now submit the application for registration with the Trade and Property Credit Register, okay, what they call the LCCM in French side. So through the registry of court of first instance in the area where the company will be established, okay, and will have its headquarters. So this will also be followed by the issuance of a certificate of incorporation and published in an official journal. So once you deposit your application to the court of first instance, through the court of first instance to the TPPCR, Trade and Personal Property Credit Register, then they'll issue you a certificate of incorporation, which will also be published in an official legal journal. So after obtaining this, then an application for exoneration of a business license tax. Okay, it's not all 2 years for all companies. Okay, for limited liability companies, usually it's 1 year. Okay, for some companies it's 2 years, and so on and so forth. So you have 2 years, but it's not always 2 years for all companies. Okay, but then you have to go for it. You have to actually apply for this exoneration. And if you it's not when you go to all the tax centers that you obtain this. So there are specific tax centers that you should follow. Usually the one-stop shops, they help you to actually gain this exoneration. Okay, some tax centers may be able to register you, but they will not give you this exoneration. Okay, so when you are actually trying to register a company, you should ask questions so that you'll be sure of engaging where you have the exoneration. Okay? Yes. So usually you obtain an exoneration from business license for at least 1 year. So at this, when you obtain this, of course, you still need to declare your turnover every 15th of each month. Okay, you must declare what you make. So when you are declaring this turnover, of course, the tax department also takes it as an opportunity to assess which tax system you will also fall under. Okay, so after the exoneration, of course, you can now also obtain your taxpayer's card. Okay, where you must have obtain your taxpayer's card, and also you go for a document that you actually need to operate. You know, for you to operate with any big business, any regular company, they will always usually ask you for what they call a certificate of non-indebtedness with the tax department, what they call non-redevance. Okay, so once you obtain your taxpayer's card, okay, you can also follow up and you have a certificate of non-indebtedness. Once you have these documents, okay, then you are ready to go. Okay, you're ready to go. But then don't also forget that you have some other identifications that you have to make. Okay, you must also identify yourself with the National Social Insurance Form and also the National Employment Form. So you must declare that you are existing there and also register there, because there are some taxes that you have to pay, especially for your employees. You have to pay taxes on your employee salaries and contributions. Some of them you pay with taxation, but others you pay with the CMS, the National Social Insurance Fund. So after everything being equal, okay, an average of 15 days, you take an average of 15 days to go through your registration process, especially now that the Cameroon government is bent on making investment environment more conducive. Okay, but you can take more. Usually, if you follow the processes, you can take just 15 days. Okay, it should be noted that we have one-stop shops. Okay, like in Douala we have one in Aqua. I think we also have one in Limbe for the ones that have been in, where you could compile your documents, you take it to them, okay, and they'll be able to run most of these processes for you. Okay, yes, they'll be able to run most of these processes for you. But of course, you still need a notary to do your articles of association. You have to provide the documents that are coming from you. Okay, so next up, let's look at the cost of setting up a company. Okay, the steps that we have explained above all require some costs that you are incurring. Okay, so for formation of commercial companies, okay, the following expenses usually are incurred. You have your expenses that you incur for registration duties. That will include transfer of ownership tax and stamp duties, as well as the reducing right. You also have expenses that you incur for matriculation. That is what we call documentation. So you have things like what notary fees, honoraries, advertisement expenses, and other bank charges. Okay, so the determination of the registration duties. So the registration duties, usually the General Tax Code has given us clear directives on how to determine the registration duties. Okay, for example, let's start with the transfer of ownership tax. So the transfer of ownership tax is applicable when an existing business is sold, taken over to another business. The tax rate is 15% of the value of the business being transferred. Okay, it is true that the definition here gives us an idea that okay, it's just in a specific case. It's important to understand that at any time that a business is created, okay, and a person has to move a property in one person's ownership, in the ownership and name of the person, to the ownership and name of another person. You know, when you create a company, it becomes a person, an artificial person. Okay, there has to be a transfer of ownership tax, because you are transferring ownership of an asset that is owned by one person to another. Okay, so the transfer of ownership tax is 15% of the value of the business or the asset that is being transferred. Okay, and it's important that we understand that most of the big businesses that we own today, it stems from a small business that was owned by somebody, which grew to a level where the person could not finance, some profitable investments that they foresaw, and they decided to bring in several partners. Most big businesses today, they started like that. Okay, but then you still have businesses that come out, from scratch. So let's look at an illustration on how to determine the transfer of ownership tax. Okay, so look at that one. A and B decided to create a company with a share capital of 12 million francs. Okay, A contributed cash amounting to 7 million. B brought the assets and liabilities of his whole business, comprising assets, that's building and equipment, of 9 million, and creditors of 4 million. Calculate the amount of transfer of ownership tax. Okay, so when you look at this, we are seeing a situation where two people came together and they decided to open a company. That company was valued at how much? 12 million. And A contributed cash. B contributed, look very well at what is happening. B is contributing assets worth 9 million and creditors worth 4 million. It means that B had been operating a small business. Okay, and at the present level, B had 9 million in terms of total assets and 4 million in terms of money that is owing third parties. Okay, so what is the value of B's business? Is a question that should be running in our minds, right? Yes. What is the value of B's business? What is the transfer of ownership tax? So let's look at the solution below. So here we see the first thing that we have to calculate is what? Is value of B's business. With the value, net assets. So the value is a net asset of B's business. Okay? What is the net asset of the business that was transferred? So the net asset is what we have minus what we are owing. Okay? So the 4 million is money that we have to pay to the creditor. So we have to consider that we have to pay that out. So our transfer of ownership tax is therefore 5 million multiplied by 15%, which gives us 750,000. I think that's simple enough for everybody to understand. So you just need to get the real value of the business that is being transferred, okay, and you multiply by the rate, okay, and you have the transfer of ownership tax. Okay, let's look at B for the next case. How do we also determine the reducing right? So the reducing right is actually the amount that you pay based on your capital of the company, the authorized capital of the company. So the reducing right is calculated on the registered capital of the company. The applicable rate of the reducing right determined according to the following scale. So we determine how much somebody has to actually pay based on this scale below. Oh, the characters are a little small. Can we add them? I'm sure that's more visible. Or like that. Okay, let's manage that. Okay, so you have the capital range, you have the rates, and you have the maximum right, which we call ceiling. Okay, so you have to take this one. Okay, you have the capital range, the rates, and the maximum right, which we also call the ceiling. Okay, so the capital ranges we have from 0 to 750 million. The rate is 2% of that capital, and the maximum right for the ceiling is 750,000. What does that mean? That simply means that if you have your authorized capital, for example, is 100,000, you multiply 100,000 by 2%. What do you have? 100,000, 2% is about 2 million. 100 million, 2%, it's about 2 million. Okay, so but what will you consider as your maximum right? Your maximum right is 750,000. So the law has already told us that in that particular capital range, we cannot pay a right above 750,000. That simply means that even though we won't apply 2% to 100 million, we have 2 million. We cannot consider more than 750,000 as our right for that capital range, which means that for the company created with a capital of 100 million, the maximum right is going to apply here, meaning that the reducing right will be how much? 750,000. Okay, so this rule is a bit tricky, especially when it goes down the ranges. Okay, so if for example now you have a capital range between 750 million and 1,500,000, okay, your rate first of all is 1.5%. The maximum right is 1,500,000. If you are ranging between 1,500 million and 3,000 million, that is 3 billion. Okay, the rate is 1%. The maximum right is 3 million. Between 3,000 million and 5,000 million, the rate is 0.5%, and your maximum right is 5 billion. Then if your capital goes above 5 billion, that is 5,000 million, the rate is 0.25%, and the maximum right is 2,500,000. Okay, so you discover that there's a small trick, especially when we're applying the maximum right and coming down, but we'll have an example below so that we actually see how that is done. So during calculation, as a note, the amount retained per capital range should not supersede the ceiling, and the amount to be paid is the accumulation of the retained amounts. Okay, so we'll see that in our illustration 1.2. Calculate the reducing right for a company with a registered capital of 30 million. Okay, and we have a B, a company with a registered capital of 3,200 million. That's 3.2 billion. Let's see how you calculate their reducing right. Okay, figures here small. Let's increase the font size so that it can be more visible. I think that's visible enough. Okay, so let's look at the first case. In the first case, our capital is 30 million. Capital is 30 million. Okay, so the basis of calculation here is what? It's 30 million. So the range where this falls is between 0 and 750 million. Some other person will just write 30 million. Okay, you just write 30 million. I mean, if you will not be able to easily cite out the basis, 30 million, so that you know, if you like to have a simplified way of calculating, so that you could say, okay, 30 million minus 0 gives you 30 million, and there you get your basis. So when you take 30 million and apply the rate of 2%, you write is how much? 600,000. But this maximum, the ceiling is how much? 750,000. So remember, you have to take the smaller one, and the smaller one in this case is 600,000. So that is our retained right. That is a right that has to be paid for a capital of 30 million. Now let's look at the next situation. Now in B, the calculation of the right for a registered capital of 3,200 million. Now you discover that this 3,200 million does not fall in the first range. Let me just also increase this. Okay, so it does not fall in the first range, 0 to 750. It does not fall in the second. It does not fall in the third. It falls in the fourth one. Okay, and again you could just bring in 200. Okay, so that when you do the differences, okay, 3.2, 3, that gives you 200 million. That's it. see now how the calculation is done in this case. The basis in the first case is 750 minus 0, 750. The right 2% of 750 is 2% of the basis. 2% of the basis, please. So 2% of 750 gives you 15 million. The ceiling is how much? 750. So how much do we retain? 750. It should not go above the ceiling, not above the ceiling. Okay. In the second range, we have 1,500,000. When you subtract 750, that's a lower boundary. It gives you 750. At 1.5%, it gives you 11,250. The ceiling is, in this case, is 1,500,000. So what do we go for? We go for the ceiling because it's smaller. In the third range, 1.53, rate 1%, basis 1.5 billion, and the right 15 million, ceiling 3 million. Again, the ceiling is smaller. Then in the next range, we have 3 billion to 3,200,000,000, and again the difference, that's why I say, okay, you should always write a higher one here so that you can just subtract. Okay, 3.2 minus 3,200. Okay, the right 200 times 0.5, it gives you 1 million. The ceiling here is how much? 2.5. So what do we retain? We retain 1 million. Yes, we are below the ceiling, so we retain 1 million. So at the end, the total amount of rights that have to be paid is the sum total of what? Of the retained reducing right. Okay? The sum total of the retained. This column. This column, let me highlight the column very well. This particular column. Okay? Yeah. This column is what is retained. This amount. Okay. No column. Okay, so the rights to be paid are 6,250,000. Okay, so when you actually calculate these amounts, you have to record. Okay, because these are expenses that you actually incur. So financial accounting now sets the rules on how to record these obligations and expenses that you incur at the formation of a company. Okay, so when you are recording, remember that the revised Uniform Act on Accounting and Financial Information, revised in 2017, and which went into force from 1st of January 2018, took away the previous method where we used to capitalize these formation expenses in account 20. In fact, account 20 was totally deleted. So right now, if we actually incur expenses during formation, we are expensing them directly. We charge them directly into the P&E, okay, the profit and loss account. So to record our formation expenses right now, what do? We simply debit account 63. So upon 63, we record all the professional expenses, honoraries, lawyer fees, and so on. If you also incur maybe advertisement expenses, that you can record that in account 62. So this is not like totally having everything. Okay. So again, the registration fees, the stamps, and the transfer of ownership tax, all of them are recorded in account 64.6. Okay. Note that will be applicable. Okay, if the above expenses were liable to VAT. So remember, if your company or the invoices that you will receive, maybe from your lawyer or from your notary, and so on, they charge VAT, and you have the right to recover VAT, then you should record VAT respectively. Okay? Yeah. So I want us to move on straight to the commercial companies that are recognized by the Uniform Act. Okay? So here it's important that we highlight, okay, that the revised Uniform Act on Commercial Company and Economic Interest Group brought in some modifications to the type of companies that used to exist. Okay? Yeah. And the main aim of bringing this up were just to encourage people, okay, who could not meet some regulatory requirements to open the kind of companies that they wanted, to have a possibility of still opening a company. Okay, so the Revised Uniform Act related to the commercial companies and economic interest groups, which came into force on the 5th of May 2014, recognizes the following companies. Okay, and they include private limited or private limited liability company, called private limited liability companies. Okay, private liability limited companies. You know, the translations from French to English, we're here to have an official one, but then it's most appropriately called private limited liability companies. Okay, we usually call them Société à responsabilité limitée, or SAL. So in the English acronym is just limited LTD, the French acronym is SAL. Again, the next kind of company, or if I'm to emphasize a bit about the private limited liability company, it's a company that can also be formed by 2 or more persons. It has limited liability, that is to say the shareholders are liable to the debts of the company only to the extent of the capital that they have actually contributed to the company. In the private limited liability company, they have a minimum nominal value, which is 5,000 francs per share. They have a minimum capital, which is 1 million. Okay, and they must also go through a notary, have an article association before they can be created. Okay. For a public limited liability company, it is considered the bigger kind of company. So a public limited liability company, which we easily call PLC, or the French acronym SR, that is Société Anonyme. So a public limited company requires a minimum capital of at least 10 million. You also have to have a minimum nominal value of 10,000 francs a share. So again, you must pass through a notary before you can register such a company. Okay. Then we now have the simplified public limited company, Société par Action Simplifiée, which is simply abbreviated SAS. Okay. So this is the form of company that was introduced by the revised law. So the SAS was actually created, as I said earlier, to reduce the formalities that were limiting people to actually create the private limited company and public limited company. So with this SAS, there is no minimum capital, there is no minimum nominal value. Okay, but you still record it, you still actually create the company, and it has limited liability. Okay, so it's very interesting. It's actually very interesting, and it's an opportunity for those who still want to open limited liability companies but cannot meet the minimum ranges of capital and so on. Okay, yeah. Then we have a partnership company. So a partnership company, you have so many types of partnership companies though, but generally we call them partnership companies, and in French they say Société à non collectif, SNC, Société à non collectif. So we call them partnership companies. So that's that. We finally have the non-registered companies. Okay, so we have companies which are actually existing, they are recognized by the Uniform Act, but they are not registered. Okay, like what an example is what we call de facto companies. We have what we call joint ventures. Okay, all of those are organizations, a group of people who have organized themselves and they actually carry out business activities, but they are not registered, and the law permits them not to. Okay, yes, but of course there is a way of following them up. Okay, so commercial companies, with the exception of non-registered companies, must be registered with the Trade and Property Register, which has an office in each member state. Thank you guys very much for listening. If you enjoyed this lesson, hit on like and subscribe.